What's up, everybody? My name is Kyphxr and welcome back to Misery. Tonight I am going to be walking you through how to survive every single anomaly in the game. Orb fields are one of the most common anomalies you'll encounter in the zone. They are large clusters of floating black orbs that expand and contract in a random pattern. They would deal a good amount of damage while expanded, but are completely harmless while retracted. This, coupled with the fact that they stay in the same location and pulse in the same rhythm, makes them fairly trivial to navigate so long as you aren't in a rush. Similarly to orb fields, urchin fields are also very common within the zone. They work in almost the exact same way, but instead of being a sphere that expands and contracts on its own, they are a small spiky ball which will expand when you get near them, which means they can be difficult to see until you're right on top of them. Teleportation orbs are large floating spheres that will teleport the player upon entering. There are currently 3 types of teleportation orbs. There are swamp teleportation orbs, which will put the player in a sequence of cabins which need to be teleported through with a sequence of teleportation orbs. Each one of these orbs will deal a little bit of damage, so make sure you do have enough health, otherwise it will kill you to get out. The second type of teleportation orb is the broken cabin teleportation orb, which will teleport you into a nearby cabin which is otherwise inaccessible. The third type of teleportation orb is an overpass swamp, the teleportation orb of which can be found underground in the 2 tunnels. Jumping over the gap into this orb will teleport you to a nearby building roof where there will be a military body and a stash. Similarly to orb fields and urchin fields, debris orbs are common anomalies that sit in the same position and will damage the player when they get close. Debris orbs, as the name suggests, are spherical rocks with a cloud of debris circling around the outside. When a player gets too close, the debris will collapse into the player, dealing a small amount of damage. However, it will only deal a single instance of damage, and it won't damage you again until you exit and then re-enter it, meaning that ultimately these anomalies aren't very deadly. Floating helicopters are harmless anomalies that can spawn after Shining 10 and consist of 4 helicopters floating in the sky. Underneath the helicopters will be 3 bunkers, 2 of which can be entered where you can find ammo, guns, and medical spawns. Launch zones are this game's versions of whirligigs, except instead of being small tornadoes, they are large zones where entering will launch you up into the air. This affects both players and NPCs, however, it seems like, at least at the moment, NPCs do not take fall damage. These areas can be a little bit difficult to see if you're not paying attention. However, they have leaves that are floating up into the air and they make a large rumbling noise. So as long as you have headphones and you're not sprinting in the dark, you should be fine. Ghost zones are a relatively common anomaly, which are made up of fields of these green flame-looking entities. When a player gets close, they will swarm around the player and will cause your insanity level to rise. Whenever your insanity level is maxed out, your character will grow woozy and your controls will become inverted. Floating convoys are mostly harmless anomalies that can be found in the apartment complexes. They consist of several military vehicles and 3 floating military crates. The crates are lootable and always contain some kind of ammo, magazine, or guns, and they can be picked up and placed in your base. 1 zombie soldier will also spawn with a floating convoy. Baba Yaga houses are harmless anomalies that resemble a log cabin until approached. If a player tries to enter, the house will stand up, revealing a huge pair of chicken legs, and then it will turn around, preventing entry. The only way into the cabin is to either run at the door from an angle and sprint jump in before the house turns around, or after the house stands up, running around to the other side and jumping in before it finishes sitting down. Inside, you will always find 3 small anti-radiation pills on the table. Radiation zones are small anomalies that look like whirlwinds. and will give the player a high dosage of radiation even when wearing a full radiation suit. Flower fields are large, harmless anomalies that have several POIs which will spawn inside, and is a good location to get wind turbines and large planters. Quantum locks are harmless anomalies that almost look like launch zones, but they have black ash that falls down and a similar rumbling noise. You can tell it's a quantum lock because there will be NPCs inside which will be frozen. The player is free to enter and won't be harmed in any way. There are two types of quantum locks. There is the road quantum lock, which has 4 or 5 lootable cars, and there is the cabin quantum lock, which has 2 garages and 1 cabin. One of the garages has a guaranteed weapon spawn on the shelf and several other loot spawns. The nearby cabin, however, is very radioactive and has very little loot inside. There are several other kinds of anomalies, like wall orbs, floating apartments, or the large, almost like skeleton parts that you can see sticking out of the ground, that are either part of the environment or just don't have any actual effect yet. But that will wrap up all of the anomalies for Misery. Of course, with any new updates, I will make new videos and we'll keep this up to date. But thank you everybody so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share for more. Check out the main channel for all of your full movies. Check out Cult Rising for all of your Cult Rising content, and I will see you next time.